The Geometry Dash Editor, an amalgamation of buttons and objects that is so confusing and entangled, I couldn't blame anyone for giving up on creating in the first 10 seconds. And people still manage to create actual works of art, even when limited by it. Well, let's learn how to use the editor so that one day you can make the next Hungry Humphrey. Hey everyone, Fleym here. Welcome to the Creator's Toolbelt. This series serves as a guide that attempts to explain every nook and cranny of the Geometry Dash editor, as well as offer tips and tricks for its features. I am not a master with the editor, far from it actually, so this will be a learning experience for me as well. Now, we can't begin explaining the editor without first going through the settings. There are a lot of options that make the building experience much better. Some buttons are hidden by default, and the bottom bar doesn't use its space as efficiently as it could. As a disclaimer, I mainly play on PC and the defaults are set with mobile in mind, so play around with the settings until you find your perfect setup. In this guide, I will show you the setup I currently use, so let's get started. So here is the editor with the default settings. Press that pause button in the top right. You'll be greeted by questionable design choices and by the option menu, hidden behind this button right here. The first thing you should do is max the button rows and the buttons per row down here. On mobile, this might make buttons hard to press, so feel free to experiment. This lets you see more objects when in the build menu and all of the edit settings. Next up, link controls. I still don't understand why this isn't enabled by default, because it is a lifesaver. It allows you to link objects together so that you can select all of them with a single click. Keep in mind that this won't affect the object count. 30 objects will still be 30 objects. Link controls are very useful for saw blade and spike design, for me at least. Duration and effect lines are weird. They are buggy, clutter up your screen when you use a lot of triggers, but are very useful. Duration lines show, you guessed it, the duration of triggers, and effect lines show the starting point of triggers. I just keep them on all the time, but can disable them if they clutter your screen too much. That's all for this menu really. The other settings are quite self-explanatory. We have a couple of settings in the bottom left of the pause menu. Show object info is really useful. It shows an object's groups, colors, and layer. And then we have the select filter, which has to be explained in more detail. In the delete menu sits a section with 4 buttons: none, static, detail, and custom. Usually, those limit the type of objects you can delete to those categories. Static objects have a hitbox, detail don't, and custom is clickable when you have an object already selected, which limits deletion to that specific object. Select filter makes it so you can only select those object categories, and it is used especially with the custom filter. For example, I have to select all of the glow in this structure. I select one piece, enable the filter, and then I can only select that type of object. Easy, right? And that's it. In the next one, we'll start tackling the huge variety of triggers the game has to offer, starting from the move trigger. Until then, cheers and good luck building.